things about today's tasting is that it really showed some of the basic tenets that a wine has to have, or what's important about a wine in order to match with food. So one is alcohol, because a wine that's too hot and unbalanced is going to react differently with your foods and with herbs and garlic and spicy onions or things like that in a real negative way. So alcohol unbalanced is a bad thing. Acid is huge. We learned today that acid is like a bra. It has to lift and separate the flavors, and I thought that was very interesting. That even the red wine and the white wine acid levels, while we tend to think of them as being different, they're really not. They tend to have the same acid needs, especially when pairing with food. All right, and then we learned today also that almost always wine in restaurants, or wine in general, is the whites are served too cold, the reds are served too warm, and that we need to be better balanced when it comes to that temperature, so that the wine is, you taste the wine the way it was intended when it was made. You know, there's a reason why they keep wine in cellars, and the winemakers always taste out of casks that are all at cellar temperature. That's when the wine is at its best. And so the fact that we tend to want to serve them too warm and too cold is kind of goofy. The other thing, there's a grape varietal for me personally that I love with food that I think it comes from my travels to Europe and mostly the northern Italy, and I love Nebbiolo with food, Barbera with food, and we're growing and making both grape varietals here in Washington State. Cavatappi is my favorite Nebbiolo. It's just a delicious local Red Mountain. I think it's Red Mountain that the grapes are grown for Cavatappi's Nebbiolo, but the Piemontese Nebbiolo, like Barbaresco and Barolo, things like that, Nebbiolo Langhe, those two are delicious wines, and I think great food wines.
So what was your favorite pairing from today? Can you say?
From today, boy, I really liked the roti Syrah with a little bit of Viognier. I get a little bored with grape varietals that are singled out and not blended together with something else. Now, there wasn't much Viognier in there, but I really liked it. I thought the Beauty Chardonnay showed gorgeous today.
Paired with the fabulous
with the
Serious
potato
Pie
pizza. Yeah. And that was a bit of a surprise for me. I always love the Cab Franc from Chinook. The other surprise for me, the biggest surprise that I thought that the whole room, and I think they kind of got talked into it by the panel, but I really thought that the Merlot that we had, is it the one from Walla Walla, the Three Rivers Merlot, I believe? I just thought that was served with the salmon, with the cornbread pudding and the mushrooms, and I thought that was just too much wine for that dish. But the room voted for that Merlot over the Chenin Blanc that we served with it, and I didn't get it. I just thought the Chenin Blanc was perfect with it. So that was funny, because I think the case was made for the Merlot. The surprise is obviously the Merlot. You think of Pinot with salmon, so people were a little taken aback by that and surprised. So I think the Merlot won by some manipulation, I would say, in our panel, and not in a malicious way, but I just thought that if you were to really sit down and think about that and drink it, glass to glass, eat through a whole entree of salmon, that would have turned around.
And a couple things that came up were some of the forlorn grape varietals like Chenin Blanc and Gewürztraminer. Do you love those?
Well, I love them because I just don't drink them enough. I think it's nice to get that variety. I tend to be a neb head, or we all tend to I like rosés of any category generally. So I tend to just, they don't come around very often for me in my little world. But so sitting there and tasting them so directly and getting each of the flavors out of the grape. Yeah,
all right.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right, so you got to try the Wilridge.